Hey, stop scrolling right now because what I'm about to tell you is going to make your blood boil and then completely shock you by the end. Imagine spending your entire childhood watching your parents throw elaborate, expensive birthday parties for your sister complete with magicians, bouncy castles, and hundreds of guests, while your birthday, just 3 weeks later, was consistently forgotten. Not once, not twice, but year after year after year. I'm talking about coming downstairs on your birthday morning to find your parents eating breakfast like it's any other day, while photos from your sister's extravagant party 3 weeks ago are still hanging on the wall. This is exactly what happened to me, and what I discovered years later about why they did this will absolutely blow your mind. Trust me, you need to hear this entire story because the ending is not what you think. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. And if you're new here, I share real-life stories about family dynamics, relationships, and the complicated situations we all face. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because the stories I share here are raw, real, and often have twists you won't see coming. Today's story is deeply personal, and it's something I've never fully shared publicly until now. It's about favoritism, neglect, and ultimately about justice and healing. So grab a snack, get comfortable, and let me take you through one of the most painful and ultimately transformative experiences of my life. My name is Sarah, and I grew up in what looked from the outside like a picture-perfect suburban family. My dad was a successful corporate lawyer, my mom was a real estate agent, and we lived in a beautiful 4-bedroom house in an upscale neighborhood. My sister Emma is 3 years younger than me, and from the moment she was born, it was clear that she was the golden child. Now I want to be clear about something right from the start. This isn't about hating my sister. Emma and I actually have a good relationship now, and she was just as much a victim of my parents' dysfunction as I was, just in a different way. But growing up, the favoritism was so blatant that even family friends would comment on it, usually in hushed whispers when they thought I couldn't hear. Let me paint you a picture of what birthdays look like in my house. Emma was born in June, right at the beginning of summer. I was born in late June, exactly 3 weeks and 2 days after her. You'd think this would make party planning easier, maybe even combine celebrations sometimes, right? Wrong. Every single year, my parents would go absolutely over the top for Emma's birthday. And I mean over the top. We're talking renting out entire venues, hiring professional entertainers, inviting literally everyone from her school plus extended family plus neighborhood kids. When Emma turned 7, they rented out a local farm and had a petting zoo birthday party with pony rides, a petting area with goats and rabbits, a face painter, a balloon artist, and a custom 3-tier cake that probably cost more than some people's monthly rent. There were at least 75 people there. When she turned 9, they rented the community pool and hired a DJ, had a taco bar catered, and gave out gift bags that had to have cost $30 each. When she turned 13, they took her and 20 of her friends to an amusement park 3 hours away, put everyone up in a hotel, and spent the entire weekend celebrating. The photos from these parties were everywhere in our house, professionally framed, taking up space on mantels and walls. Now let me tell you what my birthdays looked like. My 10th birthday, which came just 3 weeks after Emma's elaborate farm party, was on a Tuesday. I woke up that morning excited, thinking surely this year would be different. I came downstairs to find my mom drinking coffee and scrolling through her phone, and my dad reading the newspaper. I waited. They talked about their plans for the day, about a client my dad was meeting, about a house my mom was showing. I finally said, kind of quietly, because I was already getting a bad feeling. So, it's my birthday today. My mom looked up, and I swear I saw this flash of annoyance cross her face before she plastered on a smile and said, "Oh right, happy birthday, sweetie. We'll do something this weekend maybe." That weekend never came. Life got busy. Emma had a soccer tournament. My dad had a work thing. My mom had showings. By the time the next weekend rolled around, it was just forgotten entirely. No cake, No presents, no celebration. At school, my friends sang happy birthday to me at lunch and gave me cards they'd made, and I smiled and pretended everything was fine while feeling this crushing weight in my chest. This became the pattern. Year after year, Emma's birthday would be this massive, elaborate production that took weeks of planning and thousands of dollars. Then 3 weeks later, my birthday would roll around, and it was like it didn't exist. Sometimes my mom would remember the day before or the day after and give me $20 with a guilty look. Sometimes my dad would say, "Oh, we'll take you out for dinner to celebrate," and then it would never happen. One year, when I was 14, I literally had to remind them on my actual birthday morning, and my mom's response was, "Sarah, we just spent so much money on Emma's Sweet 16 party last month. We need to be more budget conscious right now." Emma's Sweet 16, by the way, was held at a fancy hotel ballroom with a live band, professional photographers, a multi-course dinner for 150 guests, and a dress for Emma that cost more than a used car. 3 weeks later, my 17th birthday, I got a card with $50 in it, and my mom saying maybe next year we can do something bigger for you. Next year was supposed to be my 18th birthday. Spoiler alert, next year didn't happen either. The psychological impact of this was devastating. I spent my entire childhood and teenage years trying to figure out what was wrong with me. Why wasn't I worth celebrating? Why did Emma deserve parties and attention and love while I got forgotten? I became an overachiever, thinking maybe if I was smart enough, accomplished enough, perfect enough, they'd finally see me. I got straight A's. I was captain of the debate team. I volunteered at a homeless shelter every weekend. I was in advanced placement classes. None of it mattered. Emma could get C's and skip homework, and it was fine. She was artistic. She was creative. She was finding herself. When I got a 98% on a test instead of 100, I'd hear about how I needed to focus more. The worst part wasn't even the lack of parties or gifts. It was the message it sent. It told me in no uncertain terms that I was less important, less valued, less loved. It told me that my existence, my life milestones, my happiness didn't matter enough to warrant even basic acknowledgement. Do you know what it does to a kid to watch their sibling get celebrated like royalty while they're treated as an afterthought? It breaks something fundamental inside you. I started spending my birthdays alone by choice once I hit 15. I'd tell my friends I was busy, I'd avoid social media, and I'd just spend the day in my room reading or watching movies, trying not to think about the fact that 3 weeks ago, our house had been full of balloons and laughter and cake for Emma, while today it was just another Tuesday. I told myself I didn't care. I told myself birthdays were just arbitrary days and didn't matter. But deep down, I was drowning in the pain of being invisible to the people who were supposed to love me most. College was my escape. I got a full scholarship to a university 6 hours away, and I took it without hesitation. My parents seemed almost relieved that I was leaving. They helped me move in, made sure I was settled, and then they left. Emma cried, which actually made me feel something for the first time in a while. She was 13 at the time, and I think she was starting to realize something wasn't right about how our parents treated us differently. We actually had a good conversation before I left where she said, "I don't know why they're like this with you. It's not fair." That meant more to me than any party ever could have. At college, I thrived, away from my parents, away from the constant reminder that I was the lesser daughter. I found myself. I made friends who actually remembered my birthday and celebrated with me. My sophomore year, my roommates threw me a surprise party. Nothing fancy, just pizza and a cake from the grocery store and badly wrapped presents, and I cried. I actually cried because it was the first time since I was maybe 5 years old that anyone had thrown me a birthday party. They thought I was crying because I was so happy, and I was. But I was also crying for every lonely birthday that came before, for every time I'd been forgotten, for every time I'd felt like I didn't matter. I went home less and less. Holidays were obligatory visits where I felt like a guest in my own family. Emma was in high school by this point, and my parents were still going all out for her everything. Her homecoming, her prom, her college applications process. Meanwhile, they'd missed my college graduation because it conflicted with one of Emma's dance recitals. They said they'd watched the live stream. They didn't. I have no photos with my parents from my college graduation. That tells you everything you need to know. After college, I moved to a different state for work. I was 22, starting a career in marketing, building a life for myself. I'd see my family maybe twice a year, Christmas and sometimes Thanksgiving. My birthday came and went each year, sometimes with a text from my mom, sometimes forgotten entirely. Emma always remembered though. She'd call me, send me a gift, make an effort. I appreciated that more than she probably knew. Now here's where the story takes a turn. When I was 25, Emma was 22 and had just graduated college. She'd gotten a degree in psychology, and she'd started going to therapy to deal with some anxiety issues. Through therapy, she started understanding family dynamics in a new way, and she started seeing our childhood through a different lens. She called me one day in August, about 2 months after both of our birthdays had passed, and she said, "Sarah, I need to tell you something, and you're probably going to be really upset, but I think you deserve to know." My stomach dropped. I thought she was going to tell me she was sick, or that something had happened. Instead, she told me she'd been going through some old documents at our parents' house, looking for her birth certificate for a job application, when she'd found something in the filing cabinet. She found insurance documents, old medical bills, and in those documents, she'd found something that made her physically ill. She found documents related to my birth. I was confused. What could possibly be in documents about my birth that would matter now? And then Emma, her voice shaking, told me, "I wasn't planned." Not only was I not planned, but according to medical records Emma had found, including some notes from my mom's OBGY, and that had somehow ended up in their files. My mom had seriously considered terminating the pregnancy. There were notes about counseling sessions, about options discussed, about the stress and uncertainty. Ultimately, she'd decided to go through with the pregnancy, but she'd resented it from the start. Emma had also found my parents' old journals from when I was born. My mom had written about feeling trapped, about how having me had derailed her career plans, about how she felt overwhelmed and angry. My dad's journal entries were more detached, but there were mentions of the timing being terrible and the financial strain of another child. Meanwhile, Emma's baby book was full of joy and excitement. She was planned, wanted, celebrated from the moment of conception. I sat on the phone in complete silence as Emma told me all of this, tears streaming down my face. Everything suddenly made sense. The forgotten birthdays, the favoritism, the feeling that I was an obligation rather than a loved child. It wasn't that I was unlovable or not good enough. It was that they'd never wanted me in the first place, and they'd spent my entire life subconsciously, or maybe even consciously, punishing me for existing. Emma was sobbing too. She said, "I'm so sorry, Sarah. I'm so sorry that I got to be celebrated while you suffered. I'm so sorry I didn't understand what was happening sooner. I'm so sorry they treated you like you were less than when you're the most incredible person I know. None of this is fair. None of this is right, and I'm so angry at them I can barely stand it." That conversation changed everything. For the first time, I had an explanation that wasn't about my own inadequacy. And more than that, I had my sister truly on my side, seeing the situation for what it really was. Emma told me she'd confronted our parents about the forgotten birthdays, about the favoritism, about what she'd found. They'd been defensive, made excuses, said she was overreacting. My mom had actually said we did the best we could. Sarah turned out fine. Fine. I turned out fine. As if that justified years of neglect and emotional abandonment. Emma made a decision that day. She told our parents that until they could acknowledge what they'd done to me, until they could genuinely apologize and make amends, she was going to limit her contact with them. She said she couldn't sit by and continue to accept their favoritism and pretend it was okay. She said she loved me too much to enable their behavior anymore. I didn't ask her to do this. In fact, I told her she didn't have to, that I didn't want to come between her and our parents. But she insisted. She said it was the right thing to do. My parents were shocked. They called me furious, asking what I'd said to Emma to turn her against them. I told them I hadn't said anything, that Emma had figured things out on her own. I also told them, for the first time in my life, exactly how their treatment of me had affected me. I told them about the lonely birthdays, about feeling worthless, about the years of therapy I'd already started to deal with the damage they'd caused. I told them that whether or not they'd consciously realized what they were doing, the impact on me was real and devastating. There was silence on the other end of the line. Then my dad said, "We're sorry you feel that way." Not, "We're sorry for what we did. Sorry I felt that way." As if my pain was a perception problem rather than a result of their actions. That conversation ended badly, with both sides angry and hurt. For about 6 months, I had minimal contact with my parents. Emma stuck to her word and kept her distance too. During that time, I continued therapy. I processed a lot of trauma, and I started to rebuild my sense of self-worth on a foundation that wasn't dependent on my parents' approval or love. It was hard work, but it was necessary work. Then, about 2 weeks before my 26th birthday, I got a call from my mom. She asked if she could take me to lunch. I was skeptical, but agreed. We met at a restaurant halfway between where I lived and where they lived, about a 2-hour drive for each of us. When I arrived, both my parents were there. My heart sank. I thought this was going to be another attempt to gaslight me or defend themselves. Instead, my mom started crying the moment I sat down. She told me that over the past 6 months, she'd been in therapy. My dad had been too, both individually and together. She said that losing regular contact with Emma had forced them to confront things they'd been avoiding for decades. She said that her therapist had helped her understand that she'd been projecting her own fears and regrets onto me, punishing an innocent child for a decision that wasn't my fault. My mom admitted that I was unplanned and that she'd felt overwhelmed and resentful when she found out she was pregnant. She admitted that she'd never properly processed those feelings, and instead of dealing with her own issues, she'd treated me differently than Emma without even fully realizing she was doing it. She said that the forgotten birthdays, the lack of celebration, all of it came from a place of unresolved guilt and resentment that had nothing to do with who I was as a person. My dad spoke up too. He said he'd been complicit, going along with my mom's treatment of me, not standing up for me the way he should have. He said he'd been so focused on keeping peace in the marriage and avoiding conflict that he'd sacrificed my well-being. He said he was ashamed of himself and that he understood if I never forgave him. They both apologized. Genuinely, tearfully, without qualifications or excuses. They didn't say, "I'm sorry you feel that way." They said, "I'm sorry for what we did to you. We were wrong. We hurt you terribly and you didn't deserve any of it." They said they understood they'd missed years of my life that they could never get back, milestones they could never reclaim. They said they wanted to try to build a relationship with me now if I was willing, but that they understood if I wasn't. I'm not going to lie and say that conversation magically fixed everything. You can't undo 25 years of damage with one tearful apology. But it was a start. It was the first time my parents had truly seen me, truly acknowledged what they'd done, and taken responsibility for it. That mattered. Over the next several months, we started rebuilding our relationship slowly. They came to visit me in my city. They asked about my life, my work, my interests. They actually listened when I talked. It was awkward at first, like getting to know strangers, because in a lot of ways, we were strangers. They'd never really known me because they'd never really looked. And then my 27th birthday approached. I wasn't expecting anything. I'd made plans with friends, figured I'd celebrate the way I had for the past several years, with people who actually cared about me. About a week before my birthday, my mom called and asked if I'd be willing to come home for the weekend. She promised it wouldn't be stressful or overwhelming, but she said they wanted to do something for my birthday if I'd let them. I was torn. Part of me wanted to protect myself, to say no, to not give them the opportunity to hurt me again. But another part of me, the part that was working on healing, thought maybe I should give them a chance. I talked it over with my therapist, and she encouraged me to set clear boundaries and expectations, but to remain open to the possibility that people can change. So I agreed. I drove home that weekend with my guard up, expecting maybe a quiet dinner and a cake from the grocery store. When I pulled up to my parents' house, I immediately noticed something was different. There were cars parked all along the street. My stomach dropped. What had they done? I walked up to the front door, and before I could even knock, Emma opened it with a huge smile on her face. She gave me a hug and whispered, "Give them a chance. I think you're going to be okay." She led me through the house to the backyard, and when I stepped outside, I almost collapsed. The backyard was decorated with string lights and balloons and banners that said "Happy Birthday, Sarah" in big, beautiful letters. There was a long table set up with food, a gorgeous cake in the center, and there were people. So many people. My college friends who I hadn't seen in months. Somehow my parents had tracked them down and flown them in. My co-workers from my current job. Extended family members who I barely knew but who'd apparently always wondered why they never heard about my birthdays. Neighbors from when I was growing up. Even some of my high school teachers who had believed in me when my parents didn't. I stood there in complete shock as everyone yelled surprise. My mom came up to me with tears streaming down her face and said, "I know we can never make up for the birthdays we missed. I know we can never give you back the childhood celebrations you deserved. But I wanted to try to show you, even though it's far too late, that you are worth celebrating. You have always been worth celebrating. And I'm so sorry it took me 27 years to realize it." The party was beautiful. My parents had clearly put so much thought and effort into it. There was a slideshow playing of photos of me throughout my life, accomplishments they'd barely acknowledged at the time, but had apparently kept records of anyway. My debate team trophy, my college acceptance letter, my graduation photo that they'd missed being present for but had apparently gotten a copy of, photos of me volunteering, working, living my life. It was like they'd created the celebration of me that should have been happening all along. My dad gave a speech where he talked about his regrets, about the father he should have been but wasn't, and about his commitment to being better moving forward. Emma gave a speech about how proud she was of me for surviving what I survived and still being a good person, a good sister, someone she looked up to. Multiple friends shared stories about how I'd impacted their lives, how I'd been there for them, how much I meant to them. When it was my turn to speak, I honestly didn't know what to say. I settled on the truth. I said that my childhood was painful, and the scars from being forgotten and undervalued were still healing. I said that I appreciated this gesture more than words could express, but I also needed everyone to understand that healing was going to be a long process. I thanked my friends for being my chosen family when my biological family couldn't be what I needed. I thanked Emma for having the courage to stand up for what was right. And I thanked my parents for finally doing the work to change, acknowledging that change is hard and that I recognized the effort they were making. That party didn't erase the past. Nothing could, but it was a turning point. It was my parents publicly acknowledging what they'd done and making amends not just privately but in front of everyone who mattered to me. It was them putting their money where their mouth was, not just saying they were sorry, but showing me through their actions that they meant it. Over the past few years since that birthday, my relationship with my parents has continued to improve slowly. They're in my life now in a way they never were before. They remember my birthday every year. They call me regularly. They visit. They show interest in my life. They're not perfect. They still mess up sometimes. Old habits die hard, but they're trying. And they're consistently trying, which is what matters. Emma and I are closer than ever. She's my best friend, my biggest supporter, and I'm hers. We talk almost every day. She's getting married next year, and I'm her maid of honor. Our relationship survived and thrived despite, or maybe because of, the dysfunction we grew up in. As for me, I'm still in therapy, still working through things, still learning to believe that I'm worthy of love and celebration. But I'm getting there. I have a career I'm proud of, friends who feel like family, a sister who has my back, and parents who are finally trying to be what I needed them to be from the start. It's not the story I would have written for myself, but it's the story I got, and I'm making peace with that. The lesson I want to leave you with is this: if you're going through something similar, if you're the forgotten child, the scapegoat, the one who's treated as less than, please know that it's not your fault. You are not unlovable. You are not unworthy. You are not the problem. The problem is with the people who are supposed to love you, but who are projecting their own issues onto you instead. Get therapy if you can. Build a chosen family of people who see your worth. Set boundaries with people who hurt you, even if they're family. And know that healing is possible, even if it's hard. Also, if you're a parent watching this, please understand the profound impact your treatment of your children has on them. Kids internalize everything. If you're showing favoritism, even unconsciously, your kids notice. They feel it, and it damages them in ways that can take decades to heal. Every child deserves to feel celebrated, valued, and loved. If you're struggling with resentment or regret related to your children, get help. Don't take it out on innocent kids who didn't ask to be born. Break the cycle. Do better. It's never too late to start, but the sooner you start, the less damage you'll do. Alright everyone, that's my story. Thank you so much for listening to this very personal and vulnerable share. If this resonated with you, please leave a comment telling me your story. I read every single comment, and I want you to know that you're not alone. If you found value in this video, please give it a like. It really helps the algorithm share these stories with people who need to hear them. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed, because I share stories like this regularly. Stories about family dynamics, healing, and finding your way through difficult situations. And most importantly, be kind to yourself. You're doing the best you can with what you have, and that's enough. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.